Welcome. My name is George Pearson and I run the How To Gurus channel here on YouTube. Most of the videos in my channel are short demonstrations of the different tools and techniques you'll find in various software programs. Right now I have several hundred of these quick videos available on YouTube. This video though is different. This is part of a new series of longer demonstrations that I'm doing to show you how to complete complex projects from start to finish using a variety of techniques and tools. All of the images I use in these projects are in the public domain, and I've included a link to the pictures in the video description in case you want to work along using the same images. Okay, let's move on to the project. In this Photoshop wedding photography video, we'll be looking at how to lay out and design pages for a photo album. Real standard thing to do if you're doing any kind of wedding photography. And just a few tricks I'll be showing you here to make this a lot easier. The first thing you want to do, of course, is to decide whether you'll be having this photo album printed, and that will determine sizes and so forth. I'll be doing this demonstration at a 10-inch by 10-inch size, which is pretty standard. Let's just take a look at just a couple of places. There are lots of places online that do this, and most major cities have companies within the city that also do this kind of service. Let's just take a look at a couple of the larger online ones. One is Snapfish right here, and they have a section for photo books. You can see that actually print up real nice books. Here's a hardcover at 12 by 12 inches. Just as an example, here's an 8 by 8 inch hardcover. See, the prices are very reasonable considering. They also have soft cover books and lay flat books, and do a real nice job. Up to 100 pages if you're going that much. Another option here is Shutterfly. Again, they have photo books right over there. And take a quick scroll down here through our photo books. Custom Pass, Simple Pass, they can help you do a lot of the design for you, or you can do the whole thing yourself. 7 sizes starting from $11.69. So again, the cost is reasonable as well. So there's a couple of places, a couple of ideas, and wedding photography such as this one right here, a good example, they tend to be square pages. It's just kind of a standard. So we'll stick with the square page concept on that. Now, the main thing you want to do, of course, is to design a theme and then design a basic layout that you can change pictures around into, so you don't have to be doing the whole layout on every single page fresh. You want to have just a basic layout. You may do 1 or 2 custom pages towards the front, and then later on just get down to kind of a standard set. So we'll design a couple of pages based upon this basic layout here. Let's just get this out of the way and take a look at our actual Photoshop page. Here we go. You can see what we've done is laid out guidelines, and everything is based upon those guidelines. The guidelines are based upon standard margins in here. And to do this really accurately, you of course want to use your rulers over here and get these things placed precisely, or even better yet, figure this whole thing out mathematically, and then using the view menu come in here and place new guides in at specific positions. And I'll show you how to do that, but then we'll just eyeball the rest. It goes a little bit faster here for the video demonstration. Now, if we look over here, you'll see that we have our images and then layers with white squares on them. I can show you that right there. Here's actually a white rectangle in this case, and then an image. We're using the white rectangle as a clipping mask and putting the image into the white rectangle. The nice thing about doing that is that we can then resize, reshape, move around the image inside of that clipping mask. We have some freedom in here to adjust and modify. Down below I have just my background section. Here's a little picture right there. You can kind of see it. So I click that on and off. And that just has a real low opacity picture just sitting on top of the page there, and a white background. If you want to go fancy, you can go for a dark background. Let's just hide those guidelines here. We'll just undo the extras. There we go. So there's the background just on a black background. There it is on white. You can see that we have a thin stroke on this, and the stroke is applied to the rectangle which we're using as our mask. So that puts the stroke, and the stroke is outside of that rectangle. Okay, let's go ahead and begin designing one of these things and see how this is all done. The first thing you want to do, of course, is to create a new page. So File, New, and I'm going to do a custom size. Now, of course, for printing, you'd want to have this at 300 dots per inch resolution. I'm going to set this at 72 because I'm recording here for the screen and not actually printing this out. And then our width we'll do at 10 inches and height 10 inches. There we go. You probably want to do a black and a white background just so you can compare those. Your actual background can be anything you want. You can do a pattern, do a gradient, whatever you want. I like having just two backgrounds in here though, just to have something to look at. And I'm going to go onto the background here, double click on the background, choose OK. We'll just make it into a regular layer instead of a background layer. I want to have the very back black, so I'm just going to fill that with black. Go to our second layer, reverse our colors, and fill it with white. So we have a black layer and a white layer. The white layer is real nice for putting our guidelines in. Now, because we're 10 inches by 10 inches, I know that 5 by 5 is going to be exactly centered. So again, if you're doing this mathematically, you probably wanted to go ahead and do it that way. So View, New Guide, and here you can choose exactly where you want it. Here's a vertical guide, and I'll put this at 5 inches, which is exactly in the middle of the page. There we go. Let's do another one. New guide, want that horizontal, and 5 inches, again, exactly in the middle of the page. Outside here, we can have, decide on how much of a border you want to have. I'm going to do a 1-inch border on the outside. So our first vertical here is going to be at 1 inch, and our outside one over here is going to be at 9 inches because it's a 10-inch page. So let's put those in. So again, new guide, we'll do 1 inch vertical. There it is, and then file, or view rather, new guide. Put this one at 9 inches. Same thing, top and bottom. Put your top and bottom margins in. So view, new guide, horizontal this time, 1 inch. That's the top one, and then view, new guide, horizontal, 9 inches for the bottom one. There we are. Now, if you want to have a 1/2 inch space between your pictures, we can figure that out pretty easily as well. If this is 5 inches right here, the 5-inch position, I want a 1/2 inch space. That means I want a 1/4 of an inch on either side. So 4.75 will be my left side on that one. Let's take a look at that. So view, new guide, vertical, 4.75 or 4 3/4. There's that. Other one over here, it's 1/4 past 5, so it's 5.25. View, new guide, still vertical, 5, and then there's our 1/4. There we go. Same thing for these two, and that will give us our top and our bottom sections. Okay, the top one up here, that's again going to be 4.75 because here's 5, you'll take away a 1/4, so 4.75 for that. New guide, horizontal, 4.75, and then 5 1/4 for the one just down below that. Horizontal still, 5.25, and we now have our guidelines in place. Now we can create those white squares and rectangles to put our pictures into. This one it's real easy to do. We'll just do a new layer. There we go. I'll do one up here. Let's go up to View. Make sure that Snap is selected and that Snap to Guides is checked. There we go. That's good. Can now grab our rectangular marquee. Just click on the New selection, and I'll come right up to the upper corner. Now it's going to snap, so it's going to grab and go right to those guidelines. There we are. We're on white. That's good. I'll just fill that. There it is. Let's do another layer, and let's deselect this. Make sure we're still on new selection. Let's go over to this side, same thing, and we'll fill this. There we are. Looks like I clicked that accidentally on that side as well. So I'm going to quickly just redo that. I have two squares showing, which I don't want. Just get rid of that. New layer in again. There we go. And fill. That looks good. Left side, right side, a little hard to see here. I'm going to bring up the size of our layers. As you can see what I'm doing here, pull the layer over, click on the little icon right there, go down to panel options, and I'll set this at real large thumbnail so you can really see what's going on. There we go. There's our left side, there's our right side. And let's put that back where it came from. There we go. Okay, another new layer. Let's deselect this, select and deselect. We now want to have that horizontal across the bottom down here. Same thing, go up here to the rectangular marquee tool and then just follow your guidelines like that. Back to the fill, click and fill, and there we go. So we now have those fills all taken care of. We can then deselect that. We can now bring in our pictures in here for these, and I have some of those up above here. We'll save that for later. There's one that I used, so let's just pull that down and let's go back to our untitled page. There we go. So I'll grab this and pull this in. Obviously this is way too large, so let's bring our size down on this layer. So I'll go up here to Edit, Transform Scale. Make sure we have the width and the height linked together. I'll set this at 25% and see where we're at. That's obviously still too large. Let's set this at 10%. That should be close. That's pretty good. Okay, at this point I can work with this. So let's just set that in place. Click on that check mark. And then I can scale this down a little bit further. Edit. Now that I have my edges showing, transform scale, hold the shift key down, and I'll pull that down so it's just a little larger than my area here. Now, set that in place. I want this one upper right hand corner right there, so I'll pull this down so it's above that. And then we'll do this as a clipping mask. So, layer, create clipping mask, and that drops it right inside of that section. We can see that now if I hide the white background and look at just the black background. So you can see how it's just dropped inside there. Now at this point I can move that around inside, you can see here, so we can come in and actually change the position, change the size. So you have a lot of flexibility by using it as a clipping mask. It just stays inside that area. So that one's good. Let's now find our next one. Here we go, it's the bottom one, that's fine. Let's just pull this down and float that. So I can grab the background, pull it on top. And let's get that up above that layer. Now again, the size is quite a bit too large. Let's scale this down a little bit. The reason for the too large size, of course, here is that these images are at 300 and I have this page we're working on at 72 for the screen. Okay, let's resize this, edit, transform scale. Again, make sure your width and height are linked together. I'll start off with setting this at 25% and see how we do. I can come down more than that. Let's set that at 10%. A little small, but that's okay. We can just scale this up manually now. Hold the shift key down and drag from the corner and make sure that we fit in our area. There we go. That looks good. Let's just set that in place with that little check mark up there. Let's now create this as a clipping mask into that white rectangle. Layer, create clipping mask. There it is, just drops inside just like that. Now again, because it's a clipping mask, I can move things around in here until I get it just where I want it. And I think that's pretty good. Okay, we have one more to go, and that's over here left hand side. That's not what I'm looking for. There we go, that's the one I want. Let's just float this again. And we'll go back to our untitled page, which is the one that we're working on right there, untitled. And once more, let's drag it onto the page. In this case, I dragged it into that clipping mask, which I don't want. So I'm going to right click on that and release clipping mask. There it is. We can now drag this down and put it above the position I want it to be at, which is on that upper left hand corner rectangle. I'm going to hide those other ones. Let's just hide these things to get them out of the way momentarily. I'll hide that. Hide that. There we are. And we'll rescale this so we can get it to fit. So edit, transform, scale. Again, link your width and your height together, and then I'll set this at 25% to begin to see how it goes. Pretty close. So I'll just bring that up here. It's a little bit on the small side. Hold the shift key down, make it a little larger. There we go. Again, check here, or you can just click on the move tool again and apply it that way. Once more, clipping mask on this one. So layer, create clipping mask. There it is. I can now move that around in my picture to get just the part I want, and that's putting the rings kind of front and center. There we go. So you have all of our pictures now on here. Let's bring the rest back up again. Now I want to have that outline. Can't see that. Let me bring the white background back up. There we are. I had that black outline on these. I'm going to hide the grid lines. Before I do that though, this is a good point to just stop for a second and say, you know, the whole reason for doing all of this is that once I have this page done, I can then make another page, move things around, which we'll be doing in just a few minutes, but I can simply replace what's here with a different picture. It will then drop right into that position. Just, you know, add another layer up here, put a new picture on that, clipping mask, remove this one or hide this one, and then you have a different picture inside that position. So it gives you a format or a template to go in and make all of your, or replace all of your images. Okay, let's just hide those views, extras. There we go for a minute. Now when you want to put that outline, do it on the layer that has your mask. A couple reasons for that. First, you can put it on the outside there, and you know it's easy to control if it's on that layer. And secondly, if you have it on this layer, then you can change this layer all you want, to change the picture up here all you want, and you'll still have that outline. And third, notice the changes in size here. If I put the outline on this, the outline would actually match the whole picture up here, and I wouldn't see the outline clear on the shape down here. So you want to have it on the layer with these shapes. So let's just do a layer style, layer, layer style, and we want a stroke. Their default is black, and 3 looks just fine. The position needs to be outside, right there. Otherwise you won't see it. Okay, there it is. Now once you have that effect, you can simply copy that to your other layers. So I'll just right click here, and let me just get right there we go. And so you can see that. Okay, it's just off screen. Let me bring this up a bit so you can actually see that. There we go. Copy layer style. Come down to this layer, right click, paste layer style. There it is. Down here, right click, paste layer style, and there we go. So there is our first page layout. Now you can save this at this point, call it whatever you want to, and then use that to make another similar layout. So I'm just going to do a file save here. Let's do a file save. Inside my wedding folder, that's good. I'm going to call this one book page 1. Book page 1, and save. There it is. Save it again, file, save as. I'll just change that to page 2 and save. Okay, now let's change this around a little bit. I'll bring the guides back in again, show the extras, there we are, and I'll get rid of these pictures. I don't need these any longer. I'll just trash that one, and let's trash that one, and trash that picture. Now I'm going to move these rectangles around a little bit. Let's take this one and put this one over here. So let's take this shape, and I'm going to hide that shape for a minute. Okay, let's take this shape and edit, transform, rotate. I want to rotate clockwise 90 degrees. There we go. Then I'll just drag it up here, and it's going to snap right to my guidelines, just like that. Let's go back to this one, and I'll hide that one. And I'll pull this one down here again. It just snaps into position like that. Bring it back up again, and there we go. We now have a new layout based upon the original layout. We just move things around a little bit. See how fast that was to make our secondary layout. So once you have your first one done, it's easy to make additional changes after the fact on that. A lot of the work is the first part. Okay, let's just hide those extras. Let's now bring in some new pictures in here. There's one. This is from some other wedding demos. This actually was kind of a combination of a couple of demos that I did. I'll grab this one, pull this picture over here, get rid of that, so put that above that layer. I'll be using this on the right hand side vertical. Let's resize this, edit, transform, scale. Make sure you link your width and your height together. Let's start out with 25% again and see how we do. That's pretty good. Hold the shift key down. I'm just going to stretch this out manually until it's a little larger than my space, like that. And let's set that in place. Let's now do a clipping mask on this one. Layer, clipping mask. There it is. Now, because it's a little larger, I can come in here. I can move it around a little bit to get just the look that I want. Let's see, right about there looks pretty good. Okay, there we go. That's that picture. Let's now put in some other pictures in here. Okay, this is a pretty good one. Let's just float this out and drag that over and get that out of the way. There we go. I'll put this one upper left-hand corner right there. So it's up in that corner there. I can hide that one for a second. Now again, our size is too large. Let's just get those out of the way. So I'll resize this. Looks like it's about 2 times too big, so I'll bring it down to 50%. Edit, transform, scale. Link our size, our width and height together. Put that at 50%, and that should be close. That is. I'll just manually bring it down a little bit. Right to there. Clipping mask again. So layer, clipping mask. There it is. And then I can move that around inside of the frame until I get just the look that I want. And that looks pretty nice. Okay, let's do our last one, which is the bottom left-hand corner right there. And I have one more picture here. Here's our soft light image that we did. Pull that over. Let's just get rid of that. Looks like it's about, again, about 50% too large, or about 200% too large. So I'll cut it in half. This is our first guess here. Transform, scale, and link width and height together. Select that. 50% should get us close enough. I can now manually pull the size. Remember to hold the shift key down so that you are going to be changing the size proportionally. I'll make it a little larger. I want to have the figure pretty well sized in there. Let's just edit, transform, scale again. Bring it up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Okay, same thing. Clipping mask on this one. So layer, clipping mask. There we go, just inside of that. So you can see how once you have the basic layout done, it's easy then to put in additional pictures and even change your layout around. Let's just bring everything back up again here. There's our right side. And there's the left side. So there is the secondary book. Okay, last thing to do is just going to be coming in and putting in our background rose image. And that should be up on my recent file list up here. There we go, red rose. And I'll pull that in and see how the size looks. Now this is going to be in the background. So I'll just pull that down in behind everything here. There we go. And you can then resize this, reposition this however you want this to be. So I think I'll scale it down a little bit, transform scale. I'll just manually scale, let's just kind of visually find a good spot for that. I want to have a bit of the rose showing up there. I think that works out pretty well. We can get rid of some of this background stuff just by using a real fast bit of deletion here, using the magic wand, and then some erase. I'm not going to be that critical about removing that background stuff because I'm going to be fading it out as well. For a real, final finish job, I would take my time and do a real careful selection in here and actually, do a careful job on removing that background. But for this demo, I'm not going to take the time on that. Let's just do it fast and dirty here. Just kind of like that. And there we go. Deselect that. Again, if I was actually doing this for a job, I would take my time and do a real careful selection on that. Now we just need to fade this out a little bit, use the opacity setting and bring it down quite a way. So it's just a little subtle in the background image. There we are. And let's bring our pictures back in. And there it is. There is our nice little wedding album. You can, each page you could do a different background, flower if you wanted to, or keep the flower in the same place each time. That's, a design choice for you to make. Again, you can change the background here any way you want to. I'd recommend, if you're doing some background stuff, to save the background and then add a new one with a different fill on this. Let's go ahead and take a look at our fill colors. And let's find something just real, just kind of a warm-ish color, real subtle. And fill that. There we go. Just real subtle fill on that, little bit of warmth on that picture. But there we go. Just some approaches to use if you want to make it real easy to create a photo album. And then we have the 2 pages now. You could then use those 2 pages as a left and a right and just change the pictures for each new page, save it as a new file name, so you can then upload it, of course, to whatever service you want to be using for the final printout. Or if you want to, you can do totally different designs on each page. Once you have the basic look, it's then pretty easy to go in and change things around and make adjustments and so forth. But there we go. That is how to design different wedding album pages. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this training video.